I didn't expect the man in the gray suit to know my name. He brushed past the florist like he belonged here, paused at the end of the aisle as the quartet tuned, and then, calm as a clerk, placed a thick envelope into my palm. "Read it." "Now," he said. Not a whisper. A verdict. I looked for security. For the planner. For someone to tell me this was some stray tradition I'd forgotten to expect. No one moved. The quartet slid into a last rehearsal of the processional. The air smelled like roses and rehearsed joy. On the front of the envelope, in block letters that didn't try to hide, my name, "To the groom." "Before you speak." I didn't open it there. The sanctuary is a stage, and I am not a man who bleeds on carpet. I stepped through the side door into the corridor, where the fire exit sign hummed its own private hymn. The envelope tore with a sound I will hear for the rest of my life. There were only 3 things inside: a certified copy of a marriage certificate with my bride's current legal name and a date from 18 months ago, a single Polaroid of her and a man on courthouse steps, dizzy with cheap sunlight, and a handwritten note in a hand that wanted me to trust the speed, not the style. "Don't say." "I do." "Check the certificate number. Room 214. 10 minutes. Come alone." My stomach didn't drop. It set. Like concrete. I checked the seal. Authentic. The certificate number sat like a nail head, rectangular, sharp, indifferent. Footsteps. The planner's voice down the hall. 5 minutes to places." I folded the note back into the envelope and, for a heartbeat, tried to return myself to the life I'd been designing since the day I met her. The mind will bargain even with a wall. Maybe there was a clerical error. Maybe the man in the photo was a cousin. Maybe people get married for visas and then, what? Forget to mention it to the person they're marrying next? Someone laughed near the vestibule. A child's shoes squeaked on stone. The quartet reprised the melody like a promise. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Room 214 wasn't a room. It was the tiny office where the officiant kept a printer that never agreed with ink and a shelf of ceremony binders labeled by month. The stranger in the gray suit was already inside, standing beneath a framed photo of last winter's Christmas pageant. He didn't sit. He didn't extend a hand. He pointed at the certificate. "Look at the affidavit page," he said. I did. Spouse A, her legal name. Spouse B, Ian Holloway. The same last name as the officiant who was about to marry us. "Her husband," the gray suit said, watching me watch the page. "And my brother." "What is this?" My voice came out flatter than fear. Asphalt flat. "Proof," he said. "You don't have time for the gossip. Here's what matters. She is still married. I don't know how she planned to get through today. Maybe a fake annulment letter for the license desk. Maybe pure nerve. But if you walk out there and sign anything, you're handing her the chance to bury you under paperwork and a headline you didn't write." From the hall, the planner's bright voice again. 3 minutes. "Why me?" I said. "Why now? Why not the police? Why not her?" He didn't blink. "Because you're the only person in this building who can stop this cleanly. The clerk will listen to the groom. She won't listen to a brother-in-law with a family feud. And because my brother doesn't deserve the arrest he'll get if this turns into a scene. He's a fool, not a criminal." A scene. The word painted itself in my mind in red. Gasps, a mother fainting, the videographer trying to decide whether ethics has a pause button. My mouth went dry. "What do you want me to do?" "Don't say I do. Ask to see the license before the processional. If they stonewall, ask the officiant, Holloway, to join you in the clerk's room. Ask him whether the number on this certificate has been annulled. You don't have to accuse anyone. You just have to request a fact. Then," he held up 2 fingers, "you bring this to the clerk. Quietly. No heroics. The clerk calls the county. The county says what the county says. And her? I asked. What do I say to her? His jaw worked, a muscle jumping like an old habit. Ask her about the date on that certificate. Ask her about the courthouse steps. Ask her why the man she once called husband signed in the same ink as the officiant who's about to pronounce you man and wife. The way he said husband collapsed the air between us. The corridor seemed smaller. The wedding, my wedding, waited on the other side of 2 doors and 1 piece of paper. A knock at 214. The door eased open, and the planner leaned in, cheeks flushed, headset crooked. There you are, she chirped at me. Then, seeing the gray suit, she recalibrated tone without moving her smile. We're ready to line up. Everyone's seated, Mom is excited, Dad just texted that he has the rings. I need to see the license, I said. She blinked again. Oh! We've already filed the pre-license with the clerk. It's waiting to be signed after the recessional, all standard. I need to see it, I repeated, quieter. Before. Something in the way I said before convinced her I wasn't negotiating. She nodded, headset bobbing. I'll grab it, she said, and vanished like a card trick. I looked back at the stranger. What's your name? Evan, he said. I'm sorry, it's me. I wanted it to be somebody with an office. I wanted today to be simpler than this, I said. He huffed something that almost became a laugh. Everyone does. You have 2 minutes. I'm going to the clerk's room. If you don't show, it's your life. If you do, he tapped the certificate. It's still your life. Just more of it left. He slipped past me and was gone, the corridor swallowing him like a house that knows how to hide a guest. I stood alone with the certificate in my hand and the sound of a quartet preparing to tape my future to a melody. The clerk's anteroom was the quietest room in the building, a linoleum floor that didn't squeak, a counter with a bell no one dared tap, a laminated poster about the steps of a lawful ceremony. The poster had cheerful clip art rings and language that, suddenly, felt like a gate. The clerk, a woman in her 50s with a cardigan that matched her pin, looked up and smiled the way people smile at grooms because they don't get to keep seeing what happens after the bouquet. Congratulations, she began. I need to verify a license number, I said. No throat clearing. No apology. Before the ceremony, her smile folded itself away and became competence. Of course. What's the number? I read it to her. Slowly. Digit by digit, like I was swearing to a witness. Her fingers moved without flourish, keys ticking, screen glow turning her face into a verdict. The door behind me opened. Evan slid in and stood beside the "No food or drink" sign like he was obeying something at last. The clerk didn't look up. She scrolled. Stopped. Scrolled back. Her mouth did a small thing I didn't like. Sir, she said finally, holding her breath behind the word. This certificate is active. There is no record of a dissolution. What does that mean? I asked, though the question insulted both of us. It means, she said gently, that any marriage we attempt to solemnize today would be not a marriage. I exhaled. It left me like a second person. A knock. The door swung open. The officiant stepped in, the Reverend Holloway, collar square, face composed into that public serenity clergy learn in the same class, where they learn how to enter rooms. His eyes flicked to Evan, to me, to the clerk's screen. He did not blink. Is there a problem? He asked in a tone that tried to sound like a help. Evan moved first. Ian, he said, flat, brother flat. You didn't tell me you were presiding over 2 of her marriages. Holloway's brows rose half a centimeter. I'm presiding over 1 ceremony this afternoon, he said. As scheduled. The clerk cleared her throat, not eager to be furniture. Reverend, we have an active certificate with the bride's name, time-stamped last year. Spouse B. Ian Holloway. No dissolution recorded. Holloway finally looked at me, really looked, like I had just entered the building and was not 10 minutes from swearing to love someone who, if the county had anything to say, did not have the right to receive it again. May I see the document? He asked. I handed it to him. He scanned, and something like grief moved across his face without stopping. She told me, he murmured, that she had filed, that they had parted as necessity. She told you? The sound came out of me before I chose it. She told you? The quartet's processional bled faintly through the wall. The song you picked because you think music can escort you safely into the rest of your life. Holloway folded the certificate with more care than it deserved and returned it to me. I will speak to her, he said. You will speak to the congregation, Evan corrected, and explain why we are delaying the processional. You will not send him out there to be a prop. Holloway's jaw squared against an old instinct to instruct. The clerk, competence embodied, cut a path between old grievances and present law. We cannot proceed, she said. It's simple. The county will expect a statement of finding. If you like, I can make that call now. I nodded. Holloway nodded. Evan folded his arms. The clerk dialed. Behind us, the planter's headset squealed as she appeared in the doorway, eyes a question mark. What's happening? She whispered, and then, seeing Holloway's face, saw too much. Delay the processional, I said, the words falling easily now, like a language I had known my whole life and misplaced for a few months. Tell my mother I'm safe. Tell her I asked you to say so. No details. She swallowed, nodded, turned. The hallway vacuumed her away. The clerk spoke in soft governmentese into the phone. Confirmation. Case number. The kind of words that hold the ceiling up. I didn't realize I was still holding the Polaroid until my thumb smeared a corner. Fresh sunlight, courthouse steps. Her smile. His hand. A joy I recognize because I have worn it. What do you want from me? Holloway asked, not to Evan. To me. I thought about anger. How it comes in like a brass band and makes you believe noise is the same thing as power. Then I thought about what actual power looks like. A calendar entry that no longer exists. A signature you will not be tricked into giving. A door that doesn't open because you choose not to turn the handle. I want you, I said, to tell my guests the truth that belongs to them, that there is an administrative delay, and we will not proceed today. I want you to tell her privately what the county told us. And I want you to stay away from the part where you try to make me forgive anybody so you can feel like a shepherd. This is not your pasture. He absorbed it like an old tree takes lightning, without theatrics, with an injury that will show later. He nodded. Understood. Evan let out a breath I think he'd been holding since last year. Thank you, he said. It wasn't triumph. It was relief that someone else had decided to be the adult in a room he had been policing alone. The clerk hung up. Documented. We're paused. If you need a formal letter for any vendors or guests, I can print one. Please, I said. And thank you. Holloway stepped out to find the planner, to redirect an orchestra, to ask 100 faces to refile their expectations under not today. Evan lingered. He looked like a man who wanted to explain and finally understood he didn't need to. Why help me? I asked. You could have let me marry into this and wash your hands later. Evan's mouth kicked toward a smile and gave up. Because you didn't deserve to learn about her math from a collections agent. And because my brother will hate me for a year, but he won't go to jail tonight. The printer in the corner remembered its purpose and began winding itself into productivity. The clerk typed. Paper appeared. A letter, with a seal I could hold up like a shield. The door opened again, this time my mother. She is 5 feet of calm and 2 more of will. She took in the room, me, the clerk, a stranger, and understood the picture if not the caption. "Are you hurt?" she asked first. "No," I said. "Are you leaving me to face a room full of cousins by myself?" she asked next. "Only for a minute," I said, and handed her the clerk's letter. She read. She didn't cry. My mother learned long ago that tears are a currency you don't spend in other people's offices. She folded the letter and tucked it into her clutch like a weapon that wants to pretend it's a wallet. "Do you want me to talk to her?" she asked. "I want you to go home," I said, surprising myself with the clarity of it. "I'll meet you there. I'll pack a bag. I need space." She kissed my cheek, the same spot that had been baptized in rehearsal kisses all week, and left without turning into a messenger. She is nobody's dove. The intercom in the ceiling crackled. The planter's voice, trembling now, but trying, floated down. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a brief delay. Thank you for your patience. Please remain seated." A brief delay. The phrase hung like a bridge between 2 cliffs that had never met. Evan checked his watch. "This is the part where she tries to get to you before the words do." As if rehearsed, the doorknob twitched. The door didn't open. Holloway's voice outside, level as a medic's. "Give him a moment." Then her voice frayed. "Please, please, just let me." Evan looked at me. "Do you want to see her?" I thought I did. I thought I needed the confrontation to make the day feel real. But the envelope in my hand was heavier than her voice, and the clerk's letter was more honest than any sentence she could build on the fly. "No," I said. The clerk slid the printed letter across the counter. I took it. The county seal glowed like a small sun. "Take care of yourself," she murmured, the way people at desks sometimes save your life without knowing it. I stepped into the hall. Holloway met my eyes and understood more than I said. He squeezed my shoulder once. Not a benediction, not a blessing, just the human version of a door held as you walk through it. My bride, no, not my bride, stood 6 feet away, hands twisting, mascara perfect because it had not yet been asked to do any work. "Please," she whispered. "It's not what you think." "I have no idea what I think," I said, "and I'm not going to think it in a hallway." I walked past her, past the vestibule, past the murmuring sanctuary where relatives checked their watches and happiness recalculated its route. Outside, the day was indecently beautiful. I hated it for 5 seconds, and then let it be what it was. At the curb, a rideshare idled, some cousin's early exit plan. I didn't get in. I walked. The letter weighed nothing and everything between my fingers. My phone buzzed, text stacking. "Are you okay? What's happening? Do you need me?" I put it on Do Not Disturb and let the city speak instead. Buses sighing, a sparrow choosing a wire, a siren far away chasing someone else's emergency. By the time I reached the corner, I had decided 2 things. First, I would not let this become a story other people told about me while I was still in the room. Second, I would go to her parents' house before the rumors did. The note in the envelope had one more line on the back I hadn't read in the scramble. I stopped at a trash can and unfolded it. "If you want documents, ask her mother. Bottom dresser drawer right side." A blue folder labeled insurance. "It isn't." I folded the note, put it back, and smiled for the first time that day. Not because I was happy. Because prepared finally felt like an action, not a prayer. I turned toward the avenue where taxis go to rest between fares. I raised my hand. One stopped. "Where to?" the driver asked. "Maple and 3rd, I said. "The big white house with the quiet front porch." He nodded. The meter clicked. We pulled into traffic, away from flowers, away from borrowed vows, toward a house that had been practicing a lie for longer than I knew how to count. The house on Maple and 3rd looked exactly as it had the first night she brought me here, white siding that glowed blue in the dusk, hydrangeas tamed into perfect globes, the kind of porch swing that never actually swings. Except tonight, it wasn't lit like a postcard. Curtains were drawn, the porch light burned steady, and the air carried the unease of a place that knows it is about to be interrogated. I tipped the driver, walked up the flagstone path, and stood at the door longer than I should have. My fist hovered, then landed, 3 knocks, deliberate. Inside, muffled footsteps, a pause, then the door cracked open. Her mother, silver hair pinned with precision, blinked when she saw me alone, in tuxedo, no bride in sight. Her lips shaped my name like a question. "Can I come in?" I asked. She hesitated only a second before stepping aside. The hallway smelled of lemon polish and Sunday dinners. Family photos lined the walls, her first bike, her prom, the framed degree I once bragged about at parties. They watched me enter like a jury. Her father appeared from the den, sleeves rolled, glasses low on his nose. "Everything all right at the church?" His tone tried casual, but his eyes betrayed the calculation. He already sensed a storm had started. "Not exactly," I said. We sat in the living room, the one reserved for guests and Christmas morning. Upholstery stiff, coffee table polished within an inch of its life. Her mother perched at the edge of her chair. Her father leaned back, but not comfortably. "I received a letter," I said, placing the envelope on the table. "And documents. They claim she's still married." Silence. Heavy enough to tilt the floor. Her mother's face drained color, but her father didn't flinch. He removed his glasses, folded them slowly, and set them on the armrest. "And what do you plan to do with that?" he asked. "I already spoke to the clerk. The certificate is active. Today's ceremony is suspended." Her mother covered her mouth with her hand. A sound slipped out, half sigh, half sob. Her father reached for her wrist gently, then looked back at me. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." The sentence was a gunshot muffled by a pillow. "You knew?" My voice cracked, not loud, but brittle. He didn't deny it. "We thought it would be handled before today. There were filings. Promises. Ian told us." "Ian," I repeated, the name a poison on my tongue. "The efficient. Her husband. Her mistake," her father said quickly, sharply. "An arrangement that should never have been more than paper. She swore it was ending. We believed her." Her mother wept quietly now, hands twisting the hem of her blouse. "She just wanted to move on. She loves you. You must believe that." I stared at the blue folder protruding from the half-open cabinet across the room. Insurance. Or something else. Evan's note replayed in my head like a drumline. "Do you mind," I said, standing, "if I look through her things?" Her father's jaw flexed. "That's not necessary." "It's absolutely necessary." My voice cut sharper than I intended. "Because I walked out of a wedding today holding proof that my fiancé already has a husband. And now I'm standing in a room where her parents are telling me they knew. If there are more lies in this house, I want to see them before I hear another word." The room stilled. Then, with a defeated wave, her father gestured. "Go ahead." Location: bride's parents' house, upstairs bedroom. Her room looked preserved, like a museum exhibit of adolescence. Posters framed, books alphabetized, trophies dusted weekly. But the dresser told a different story. I pulled open the bottom drawer. Blouses folded neat. Underneath, the folder. Blue, labeled insurance. I lifted it onto the bed and opened it. Not policies. not forms. Photocopies of marriage certificates, 2, 3, not just one. Different counties, different dates. Same woman's name. Same game. Annulments filed, some incomplete, some denied. And a handwritten ledger, names of men, dates, notes like closed, moved, pending. My chest tightened as I read down the list. My name sat at the bottom, inked in the same tidy script. Next to it, secure. Ongoing. I sank onto the edge of the bed. The walls seemed to press in. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't love gone wrong. It was a system. A cycle. She had done this before. Her mother's voice floated from the hall. Please, don't think the worst. She was lost. But she found you. It's different now. I stood, holding the folder. It was never different. It was just my turn. Her father appeared in the doorway, anger battling shame. If you expose this, you destroy her life. No, I said, calm now, eyes settling where fire had been. She destroyed mine the moment she brought me into this con. The only thing left to decide is how public the destruction will be. I brushed past him, folder under my arm. He didn't stop me. Couldn't. Some truths weigh more than blood. Location, hotel, night. I didn't go home. Home felt infected. Instead, I checked into a hotel near the river, anonymous and sterile. The kind of place businessmen choose when they want to disappear for a night. The room smelled faintly of bleach and new carpet. I dropped the folder on the desk and stared at the skyline. Lights glittered like secrets waiting to be catalogued. I opened the ledger again, photographed every page. Scanned the certificates, uploaded them to a secure drive. I sent a copy to an attorney I knew from college, subject line, urgent, potential fraud case. My fingers didn't shake. They were steady now. Purpose steadies. At midnight, I wrote in my notebook. Step 1, gather proof. Step 2, secure counsel. Step 3, decide audience. Because revenge is not rage. Revenge is architecture. Every beam measured. Every nail deliberate. I lay back on the bed, folder beside me, and for the first time since the gray-suited man pressed the envelope into my hand, I slept. Not peacefully, but solidly. Like a man who knows the house will burn and is already drawing the blueprints for what comes after. The room was a cube of quiet, a bed, a desk, a window that made the river look like a ribbon someone had forgotten to tie. I set the blue folder on the desk and opened my laptop. The fan spun up, small and determined. Purpose in miniature. I started with the architecture. A clean folder on a clean drive. Subfolders named like errands, clerk, guests, vendors, county, diocese, council. I hate messy desktops. Messy people hide in them. The scans uploaded, certificates, annulment denials, the ledger with men's names marching down the page like headstones. I added my photos of the drawer, the dresser, the blue tab that said insurance and meant insurance of a different kind. I wrote a one-page summary that a stranger could understand. Dates, county records, the conflict of interest of an officiant who shares a last name with a spouse on a still active marriage certificate. I did not use adjectives. Nouns do the killing if you let them. Phone on Do Not Disturb, but the banner still crept across the locked screen, unknown. Then another. Then mom. I let them stack. Above the minibar, a little card promised artisan snacks at fair prices. The fair price for tonight was keeping my hands from shaking. I did not touch the almonds. At 11:13 p.m., the attorney replied, received. Reviewing. Do nothing in public until I give you the green light. Also, save everything off the cloud. I answered with a photo of the external drive and the note, done. Paper copy, too. He wrote back a sentence I could have married if I'd met it years ago. Good. Paper never asks a battery for permission to exist. The ledger name stared up at me. I picked one at random, marked D. and typed the string into search. A profile. A company bio. A public email. I drafted. Subject: you don't know me, but we share a nightmare. I'm writing because your name appears in a ledger I found today. The same woman, the same county, the same game. I'm not suing you. I'm asking if you ever received a letter the way I did. If yes, will you let me buy you coffee and compare notes? If no, will you allow me to send you a summary so you can check your own records? No drama. Just facts. I copied the body to 5 more names: Andre, Luis, Peter, Hassan, Joel. I did not hit send yet. I scheduled them for 7:05 a.m., the hour when men who've been pretending to sleep finally surrender and look at their phones. A knock at 11:28. 3 knuckles, soft but urgent. I didn't move. Another knock, the rhythm changing, 2, then 2. The peephole showed a blur of hallway carpet and a sliver of blue fabric. Then her voice, stitched to the doorframe. Please, please, it's me. Of course she had the hotel. If not from my mother, then from a cousin. If not from a cousin, then from the Find My sharing she'd forgotten I knew how to revoke. I breathed in once and decided which version of myself would answer. I opened the door to the chain. 6 inches. Enough for the air between us. Her mascara held. Her voice did not. Can we talk? We are, I said. Inside, she said. Please. People are staring. No, I said, pleasantly, like offering a different menu item. Here is fine. She glanced left and right. The hallway was empty, but it could fill. She lowered her voice until even the carpet leaned in. I was going to fix it. I filed. I have emails. You were never supposed to be a prop? I asked. Collateral? Or a repeat customer? That's not fair. It's accurate. Her hands twined, released, twined. Ian was a mistake. It was for reasons. It was over. He promised to file. I was stupid to believe him. She looked up fast, catching the use of was. I am. But not with you. With you it's different. You keep saying that word, I said. It doesn't mean what you think it means. She blinked. What? Different implies there's a baseline. You never set one. You had a ledger. Her mouth opened. Closed. I watched a half-dozen arguments die before they got names. Where did you? In the bottom drawer, I said. Inside a folder labeled insurance because irony still has a job. That's private, she said, and winced at the uselessness of saying it. So is a heart, I said. So is a life. She pressed her forehead to the crack of the door like contrition could seep through 6 inches of chain. Don't do this. Don't send anything yet. Please. We can handle it quietly. No one has to know. Everyone already knows, I said. They just don't have the nouns yet. Then give them kinder ones, she whispered. For me. For you, I said, tasting the shape of the phrase and letting it fall. No. Something in her posture failed then. The spine of performance softened. Is there anything I can say? Yes, I said. But you won't. What? I'm sorry I did this. I'm going to the clerk in the morning to confess and to the county to correct. You owe me nothing because I stole beginning after beginning from other men, and you were next. That's the sentence. She stared at me as if my mouth had turned into a map she couldn't read. I love you, she said finally, the oldest talisman in the room. I hope you love the version of me that kept the receipts, I said, because that's the only one left. Her eyes hardened at the edges, tiny plates of armor sliding into place. "You're cruel." "No," I said, and let the chain answer for me. "I'm prepared." Footsteps at the elevator. The soft ding that means someone else's floor has arrived. She stepped back. "You'll regret this," she said. It wasn't rage. It was prophecy uttered by someone who has only ever survived by staying ahead of consequence. "I write my own endings," I said, and closed the door with the care you reserve for fragile things you intend to keep. I stood in the dark for a count of 10. The knocks didn't return. The carpet forgot her steps. The door remembered how to be a door. Back at the desk, I opened a new document labeled "What People Will Need." 3 paragraphs for 3 audiences. Guests. Dear friends, there was an administrative discovery today that required us to postpone the ceremony. We're grateful for your care and your privacy while the county does its work. Please direct any logistical questions to the planner. There will be no public statements from me. Thank you for respecting that. No names, no fuel. Vendors. Per the clerk's letter, attached, the ceremony has been postponed pending county verification. Please forward any refund or reschedule policies to council, copied, so we can close accounts cleanly. Thank you for your professionalism. Professional tone, professional result. Her parents. I learned today what you already knew. I'm not interested in humiliation or spectacle. I am interested in truth and clean exits and in preventing the next man from living my afternoon. I will deliver the relevant documents to the county, and I will not be returning to your home. Please don't contact my mother with explanations. She has the only version of events she needs. I copied the clerk's letter into a fresh PDF and put it where it belonged, county. Then I wrote to the diocese/oversight board for clergy. Subject: conflict of interest and potential misconduct. Reverend Ian Holloway. Today, I learned that the officiant scheduled to preside over my ceremony appears on an active marriage certificate as spouse be for my would-be bride. The county clerk confirmed the active status, case number attached. I am requesting an investigation into whether Reverend Holloway was aware of the conflict, and whether he is involved in a pattern of officiating under such circumstances. I attached exactly what a committee needs, and nothing they could call hearsay. The phone again, unknown. Then Evan. I answered the text. "You okay?" "Yes." She came to the door. I figured. He's furious. He'll calm down. You did the right thing. Thank you for the envelope. I wish I'd brought it sooner. I typed, "Was the ledger your idea?" Dots. Then, no. I found it when I was looking for the annulment paper she swore existed. I didn't know about the others until today. I typed, "I'm contacting the men at 7:05. If that crosses a line for you, tell me now." He cross it. I'll testify if needed. Midnight arrived like an appointment kept. I set 3 scheduled sends. Guests at 8 o'clock with the planner CC'd. Vendors at 9 o'clock with council CC'd. County/diocese now. My finger hovered over the last one. I looked at the hotel art, the watercolor bridge no one ever remembers, and pressed send. The river outside shrugged. The city did not tremble. That's the mercy of being one life among millions. You can end one story cleanly while the next cab changes lanes. I washed my face in a sink that had never belonged to anyone and stared at a man whose eyes had learned the difference between righteous and ready. I didn't hate him. He'd had a long day. The laptop chimed. Council. Receive county/diocese filings. Good. Sleep. You'll need your brain tomorrow. I tried. The mattress was a stranger, but not unfriendly. When sleep came, it was a straight drop instead of a tangle. I woke to the alarm at 6:58, my hand already moving. The scheduled emails launched at 7:05. At 7:12, Mark D., replied, "Coffee." 10. Harbor Cafe. At 7:17, Andre. I thought I was the only one. At 7:23, Hassan. Bless you for writing. I have documents. At 7:30, Peter. I have a kid. I need to make sure none of this touches him. Help me do it right. My inbox became a roll call of relief and anger and gratitude. Pain makes a chorus when you give it a room. I printed copies of the ledger pages and slid them into a fresh folder labeled Men. I put on yesterday's jacket because it still knew my shoulders. I checked out. The river didn't wave goodbye. It didn't need to. The cafe was 3 blocks away, all tile and sunlight and the smell of ground hope. Mark was there already, tall, exhausted in the bones. He lifted his coffee in a small salute that meant thanks for not making me be the first to speak. We traded names and documents. He had a text thread. Sweet at first. Then leverage. I just need a little more time. Can you cover the retainer? I'll pay you back when the paperwork clears. Familiar turns. Different exit ramps. Andre arrived next, a suit that had slept on a couch. He put down a manila envelope like a hostage exchange and said, "I almost married her in March." Hassan came with a carefully organized binder that said engineer even before he did. Peter brought a photo of his toddler to remind the room what the stakes are for someone who still believes in futures without extra signatures. We didn't rage. We didn't laugh. We did a thing better than both. We compared county numbers, case statuses, the same handwritten loops at the corner of 3 different forms that spelled out her middle initial in a way you couldn't fake if you tried. The pattern drew itself. We didn't have to draw it. I read them my attorney's advice. They nodded like men who had wished someone would give them instructions one more time as a kindness. We agreed on a list of actions that didn't feel like revenge because revenge had already been paid for, in advance, by the hours we'd lost. Affidavits. Each of us would write one and file it with the county, attaching any proof we had. Clergy oversight. A joint letter requesting a review of any ceremonies officiated by Holloway during the dates in question. Consumer protection. Because you can call fraud many names, but consumer protection divisions prefer the ones they already have forms for. No social media. No posts, no threads, no callouts. Not because silence is noble, but because it doesn't get you sued for the wrong thing. My phone buzzed with a new email. The Oversight Board. We have opened a preliminary inquiry. Please do not contact Reverend Holloway directly. I slid the phone across the table. Her sets of eyebrows moved half a centimeter. It's a big reaction in a small room. At 9:40, my mother texted. I left the house in order. Come when you're ready. Breakfast in the fridge. I'm not asking questions today. Only making eggs tomorrow. I loved her for inventing a future that contained eggs. By 10, we had finished becoming a group. Not friends. Something more functional. Witnesses. We exchanged numbers. Mark shook my hand. She told me I was different, he said. She told me that too, I said. We both smiled with humor. Then he left, and Andre left, and Hassan left, and Peter stayed 1 minute longer to show me a video of his kids stacking blocks, and then toddled away into a world he hoped was now slightly safer. I walked out of the cafe, and into a day that was practicing being ordinary. A dog dragged its human toward a patch of grass that had something to say. A bus sighed. Someone laughed into a phone, like the story they were telling was certain to end well. I respected their optimism. Back at the hotel, I collected the envelope with the clerk's letter from the front desk and asked them to forward any packages to my attorney. The clerk, different cardigan, same competence, nodded at the tone in my voice. The elevator lifted me into a lobby that knew nothing about vows. Good for it. By noon, Counsel had compiled our documents into 3 neat bundles, stamped and ready. County today, he said. Consumer protection tomorrow. Oversight board will move at their own speed. You've done the right things. What about her? I asked. The reflex surprised me even as I said it. She'll do what people do when they run out of room, he said. She'll choose between owning it or moving it. He looked at me over the top of his glasses. Either way, not your job. The phone vibrated again. Evan, he resigned his parish duties this morning. Personal leave. Not sure what that means yet. I typed. It means he knows the difference between a fire alarm and smoke. He, are you safe? Me, yes. Are you? He, for the first time in a year. I went to my mother's. The eggs were in the fridge with a note that said tomorrow. I sat at her kitchen table and realized how beautiful a boring tabletop is when you've been living inside a story that refuses to stop making plot. The doorbell rang. She opened it before I could stand. She knows my weight on a chair and the sound a son makes when he decides to stop standing up for a day. It wasn't my bride. It was her mother. She held the blue folder. Same handwriting. Same perfume. She looked at my mother first, because mothers always see mothers, and said, I came to apologize. My mother stepped aside, but not far. Boundaries are geometry you learn late. The woman looked smaller than she had last night, like someone had opened the windows on a paper lantern and let the air leave. I knew, she said. Some of it. Enough to stop it. I didn't. I told myself it would be fixed. I told myself she was frightened and we would be her courage. We were her cover. She held out the folder. Take it. Or burn it. I don't know which I'm allowed to hope for. I took it and set it on the table where eggs would happen tomorrow. The county has what it needs, I said. So does the board. So will consumer protection. What I need you to do is talk to your daughter before she finds another door to knock on. Tell her there aren't any left. She nodded like a person who had finally been given a sentence with no grammatical loopholes. Will you ever forgive her? She asked. The question wasn't a plea. It was a habit. I will forgive myself, I said, for believing what I was asked to. The rest is not mine. She left. My mother sat. We didn't talk for a while. Some silences know how to set a table. At 4 p.m., counsel forwarded a reply from the county. We acknowledge receipt. Investigations underway. We will contact all parties named. At 4:15, the planner emailed a list of vendors with refund policies that didn't make me need to invent a new word for theft. At 4:30, Mark sent a photo of the affidavit he'd signed. At 4:42, Andre wrote, filed. Thank you. At 5:03, Hassan, filed. I feel lighter. At 5:11, Peter, filed. Going to the park with my kid. I looked at the ledger one last time and realized what it had been all along. Not a record of conquests, not even a spreadsheet of logistics, but a map of loneliness. Men who wanted something that had a name and got something that didn't. I closed the folder and slid it across the table to my mother. Tomorrow, I said. Eggs. Night came, not as a threat but as an invitation to stop performing. I walked outside with a trash bag full of programs that would never be handed out. I put it by the bin tied tight. The sky held the last light the way a good friend holds your jacket while you fight the smallest fight you can win. The phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then, I'm going to the county in the morning, she said. Her voice was smaller. Not performative small. Real small. I'm going to fix what I can. A pause. I won't call you again. Thank you, I said. I meant it the way you mean it to the nurse, who finally removes the 4. Not because you enjoyed it. Because it's over. After the call, I wrote the last entry in my notebook. Today I learned a different definition of revenge. It isn't a public bonfire or a line you deliver while the orchestra swells. It's a clean file folder, a county seal, a morning where 5 men drink coffee and send emails that make the world half an ounce more honest. I didn't save face. I saved time. Mine. I set the pen down and felt, for the first time in 2 days, how tired a human body can be without admitting it has a soul. I turned off the light. My mother's house breathed around me, the old wood performing its long, patient song. Somewhere dinner cooled. Somewhere, a man in a gray suit told his brother he loved him enough to be hated. Somewhere, an officiant wrote the word leave in a subject line and hit send. And somewhere, in a clerk's office with a humming fluorescent light and a poster about lawful ceremonies, a file folder slid into a drawer and took my name out of the story it had almost been written into. Tomorrow there would be eggs. And a morning that didn't ask me to explain anything to anyone I didn't choose. I slept.